Story 1. Am I the a-hole for serving my boyfriend's parents pizza for dinner? So, this happened last night. I'm still hella confused by the whole thing. So I, female 28, have been dating my boyfriend, male 31, for 7 months. His family are of Italian origins, and they take a lot of pride in it. They invited me over to their house several times. Last night, his parents came over to the apartment for the first time. They said they were visiting a friend and decided to stop by for dinner. I freaked out when they said dinner because it was late and I was working and had no time to cook, so I ordered pizza for all of us. The second his parents saw the pizza, they got ticked. His dad gave me a nasty stare, then said that I intentionally served them pizza because they were Italians. In other words, he claimed I was mocking them and their food and assuming that just because they're Italian, that they'd only eat Italian food, which he called racist. I was confused. I said I didn't think it was interpreted that way because he said, "If you have Asian guests over, do you serve them sushi? How would you like it if we only served you McDonald's and fries every time you visit, since that's what Americans eat?" I was stunned by his words. Basically, he was saying that just because they're Italian, then I shouldn't assume they'd like to have pizza, but who doesn't like pizza? He and my boyfriend's mom got up and said they wanted to leave. My boyfriend tried to get them to stay and take it easy, but they left eventually. He blew up, saying I messed up by serving them pizza and insulting them directly. He told me to call and apologize, but I said no, and that I didn't have time to cook anything after they showed up unexpectedly. He got more upset and asked if his parents needed permission to visit him. I backed off thinking he'd calmed down, but he kept saying I insulted his parents and I needed to apologize. I'm utterly and genuinely confused. Am I the a-hole? Everyone's the a-hole. No communication. They sprung on her at the last minute that they were going to come over for dinner without asking if this person had enough time to fix something. She's an a-hole for not communicating and saying, "Hey, maybe I can order pizza. Is that okay? Maybe we could go out. Maybe there's something that they like." No one's communicating here. Everyone's the a-hole. Story 2. You're a capable young man, so I can grab whatever I want from your shopping cart. Details. I am 17 and live in the UK. This happened around December of last year. It happened in Little, to be exact. Now, this is going to be a very long read, so prepare. EM, entitled Mom. EK, entitled Kid. My mom asked me to go grocery shopping because she was quite busy with something, and I agreed to go, so I went to Little. I spent around 10 minutes looking for things on the shopping list. I decided to get a treat for myself because why not? And so I got some Fincare chocolate. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Note, this chocolate wasn't sold at the till in this location. I finally finished finding everything and made my way to the till. I was standing in line while using my phone, just minding my business, until this overly loud parent with her very hyperactive kid who looked around 8 came behind me in the line. EM. You wouldn't mind letting us go in front of you, would you? I looked down on her cart, which seemed to be a lot more full than mine, and I decided I'm not in a rush, so why not? And I replied, sure, and subtly smiled. She thanked me and went on to go in front of me. My impression of this woman seemed normal until this happened. The EK said as he was pointing to my cart, "Mom, look, it's that chocolate that you promised to buy me next time we go shopping." EM. Oh yes, darling, I just remembered. Then EM looked up to me and said, "May I grab that chocolate bar? The little one's been eager to get it." Now, this chocolate is somewhat far from the tills in this location, and as mentioned earlier, isn't sold at the tills either, so getting a new chocolate bar for myself would have been a chore. I replied, "I'm sorry, I don't think I can give you the chocolate. It's quite far from the tills." Her smile quickly turned into a death stare, and she said in a loud voice, "Right, I don't care how far this chocolate is from here. Now someone like you is more than capable of getting a new bar, so stop making George cross." I replied, "I don't care how capable I am. I'm not going anywhere, and this chocolate is staying in the cart." Now, there was a lot going through my head at this point, but I remember how the EK was reaching inside my cart trying to grab the chocolate, so I quickly grabbed it myself and held it in my hand. EK: "Mom, the guy took the chocolate." EM: "Right, I've had enough." The EM reached to my hand to grab the chocolate, but I moved in time and decided to go directly to the cashier and ask him to call a manager. Now the cashier seemed to have witnessed everything, and so he informed the manager about what happened. No more than 2 minutes of me awkwardly standing, and the manager arrives. She walks up to the EM and quietly asks her to leave, and the EM keeps trying to incriminate me somehow until she finally paid for her groceries and left. Me, the cashier, and the manager all had a laugh about it after she left. Now that I think about it, that scene wasn't worth a chocolate bar, but oh well. I mean, this person already let this mom and kid go in front of them in line. He wasn't being selfish in all regards. And the entitled mom asked for the chocolate, but why after that did she just grab it instead? It is entitled. It is entitled behavior. Maybe the guy could have gone on to get his own chocolate, seeing as he also let the mother and the kid in front. But, as he said, it was his choice. It was his chocolate bar. I don't think he's being a jerk at all. It was very polite until they decided to invade his space.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 3. The city wanted me to take better care of my gardens, so I had them checked by nature organization. The guys at Pro Revenge argued that it better belongs here, so here I am. My house is surrounded by 2 gardens, one in the front, facing the street, and one in the back, bordering my neighbor's gardens. When my parents and grandparents moved into our house 26 years ago, they planted a thick hedge around the entire property. They also installed a rose arch over the pathway to our front door, and my grandfather was always busy keeping up the garden, planting, weeding, keeping everything very tidy. My grandfather passed away in 2002, and after that, the garden was neglected for a few years as my parents were still working and my brother and I were in university and school. But then, in 2005, my mom read something that said we should plant stuff to help the bees, and she took over the gardens, planting lilacs, rhododendrons, roses, and various berries. Later, we decided to also install raised garden beds with various kitchen herbs. My mom is now over 70 years old, so she has officially given the house over to my brother and me, so that we won't be taxed on inheriting it when she passes on. Since then, I've been sporadically taking care of the gardens. I like them in their wild shape, with all the birds, bees, bumblebees, and butterflies flying around. In autumn, we get hedgehogs, and we've been visited by a fox recently, which sent my cats into a panic. Then recently, we received a letter from the city stating that our garden was interfering with the safety of the street because the hedge was overgrowing the pavement and contained poisonous berries which were a danger to children. Now, my brother trims the hedge every month to make sure nothing is overgrowing the pavement in any way, and while the berries are poisonous, to get to them, you'd have to be quite resilient because they're surrounded by thorns. They're also known to be ideal food for some local birds. So I contacted our local Nature Conservation Association and asked them if they would like to have a look at our gardens and maybe tell us if we could improve anything to make them even more nature-friendly. They came, looked around, and then told us they rarely see gardens so in touch with nature. They approved our gardens as especially nature-friendly and contacted the city to tell them that, from their point of view, Any changes would be considered unfriendly to nature, and since our city prides itself with once being one of the green capitals in our country, they had to budge. Don't mess with my gardens. Just cover yourself. They were doing the upkeep. Maybe a little wilder, but they were keeping things trim. I think the city was just trying to get them to get rid of their hedges or cut them down a lot. I think they were just over what the city would have wanted, but they knew the letter of the law, these two people, and they kept their hedges within that range. And the city just failed spectacularly. Story 4. My friend's boobs are offensive to entitled mother. So, basic information. Me and my best friends were on a beach, just chilling. One thing I need to inform you is that my best friend is on the big-breasted side of the spectrum. So, like any big-breasted woman, bikinis are a nightmare for her. She's always stared at, and that makes her really uncomfortable. Now to the story. Me and her were in a more secluded part of the beach. We had swam, and we decided to sit a bit. When we come back to our chairs, a family had settled down near us. The mom was in her late 30s, and the dad was in his early 50s. They had a child with them, a 9-ish-year-old boy. We didn't pay any attention to them. We just sat on our chairs and talked for a bit. I noticed the dad of the family looking at my friend, but paid no mind. I decided to pick something to drink. There was a bar nearby. I asked my friend if she wanted something. She asked me for a lemonade. I go to the bar and see the EM coming near me. I waited in the line until EM came to talk to me. EM, entitled mother. Me, a unicorn. EM. Hi, I saw that you and your friend are near me and my family. I just nodded to her. I think your friend is really beautiful, but she's showing too much cleavage. I looked at her, trying to think how to respond to this. Me. Well, she can't be faulted for being born with big breasts, can she? She looked at me like she was expecting me to agree with her. EM. Well, she could not use a bikini that small, she said with a somewhat annoyed voice. Me. She can do whatever she wants, lady. She became red at that. I don't think that this woman has ever heard someone disagree with her before. EM. She's looking like a sloot. My child will be traumatized. I look back to where my friend is sitting. I have a clear view of her and the EM's family. Her child is doing sandcastles. A cute view, I might add. And her husband is staring hard at my friend, who was passing sunscreen at the time. So the problem was not her child. It was her husband. Me. Well, I can't do much, lady. Now please, leave me alone. Finally, it was my turn, so I picked my drinks and ignored the EM. She wasn't happy about it, though. EM. Don't you dare ignore me, young man. I'm not finished. I just looked at her and took a sip of my drink before saying, Lady, your kid isn't even looking at my friend. Your husband, on the other hand. I pointed at her husband, who was staring at my friend with hungry eyes. She looked shocked and just started walking to her husband. I went to my friend, gave her a drink, and sat beside her, watching the wife's furious whispers to her husband. Not long after, my friend and I decided to leave. I didn't tell my friend about the crazy lady. She has enough confidence issues. At least I didn't see this family ever again. I think it's telling that this woman is choosing to speak up not to the big-breasted woman she has a problem with, but to the friend. Not enough courage to confront things head on. Do you think she knew that her husband was going to be the one staring and tried to somehow appeal to this guy through some sort of moral objection? And besides, what was she expecting him to do? Was she assuming that this was the husband or boyfriend or something? Do you think he was going to run in with a towel and just cover up over these objections? What are you expecting? Move. Move to a different part of the beach. It must not be a small beach.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.